Good evening. Boy, it's been a long time since we convened in the chambers. Wow. Glad to see everybody back. Welcome to 2023. We are streaming live as well as capturing the video on our YouTube channel, City Madison YouTube channel. Welcome to the January 3rd City Council meeting. Like with all of our other meetings, we'll start by reciting the Lord's Prayer followed by the Pledge of Allegiance, then we'll get into tonight's business.
Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Good evening, Council. Dan DiTillo.
Here.
Chatham.
Here.
Schaefer.
Here.
Lucy DiTillo.
Here.
Krebs.
Here.
And Tevenot.
Here.
And Bartlett has an excused absence.
Okay. Council, as part of your duties for the first meeting of the year, is the selection of the 2023 Council President Pro Tem. Are there any nominations?
I move to nominate Carla Krebs as Council President for the 2023 year.
I'll second that nomination.
Are there any other nominations? Okay. Hearing none. It's been a motion and second. Is there any comments? Okay. Hearing none, we'll have I guess we have a roll call vote.
Okay.
Okay. Dan DiTillo.
Yes.
Chatham.
No.
Schaefer.
Yes.
Lucy DiTillo.
Yes.
Tevenot.
Yes.
And Krebs.
Yes.
Carla, congratulations. We look forward to working with you this year. All right, Council, you have the minutes from the December 30, 2022 meeting. Unless there are amendments, accept a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to accept the minutes as written.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
I will abstain. I wasn't here.
Okay. Moving on with our first item tonight. Joe?
Yes, first we have resolution number 2023-1C. This is a resolution repealing and replacing resolution number 27-22, 2022, establishing a policy by which members of the Common Council may participate by electronic means of communication. I'm just going to go straight into the body. Section 1, the provisions of the Act includes definitions that may apply to this resolution. The resolution shall be known as the Electronic Meetings Policy of the Council and applies to the Council, Board of Works, Public Safety, Historic District Board of Review, Redevelopment Commission, Board of Zoning Appeals, Board of Park Commissioners, PACE Review Program, and the Plan Commission. Section 2, subject to sections 3 and 5, any member may participate by means of electronic means of communication that allows all participating members of the body to simultaneously communicate with each other, and other than a meeting that is an executive session, allows the public to simultaneously attend and observe the meeting. B, a member who participates by electronic means of communication shall be considered present for the purposes of establishing a quorum and may participate in action only if the member can be seen and heard. All votes taken during the meeting at which at least one member participates in by electronic means of communication must be taken by roll call vote. Section 3, at least 50% of the members must be physically present at a meeting. at which the member will participate by means of electronic communication. Not more than 50% of the members may participate by an electronic means of communication at that same meeting. A member may not attend more than 25% of the meetings in a calendar year by electronic means of communication unless the member's electronic participation is due to military service, illness, medical condition, death of a relative, or an emergency involving an actual threatened injury to persons or property. A member may attend 2 consecutive meetings, a set of meetings by electronic communication. A member must attend in person at least 1 meeting between sets of meetings that a member attends by electronic communication, unless the member's absence is due to military service, illness, death of a relative, or emergency involving actual threatened injury to persons or property. A member may not attend a meeting by electronic means if the member lacks the technological wherewithal to accomplish them. The meetings of the memoranda of the meeting at which a member participates by electronic means must identify each member who was physically present at the meeting, participated in the meeting by electronic means of communication, and was absent, and identify the electronic means of communication by which the member participated in the meeting and members of the public attended to observe the meeting was not an executive session. No member of the council may participate by means of electronic communication at which the council may take final action to adopt a budget, make a reduction in personnel, initiate a referendum, impose an increase in a fee, impose an increase in a penalty, exercise the council's presence, power of eminent domain, and establish, impose, or raise or renew a tax. If an emergency is declared by the governor or the mayor, members are not required to physically be present for the meeting until that emergency is terminated. Members may participate in a meeting by any means of communication, provided that at least a quorum of the members participate in the meeting by means of electronic communication or in person. The public may simultaneously attend the meeting and observe the meeting unless the meeting is in executive session, and the minutes of the memoranda of the meeting must comply with Section 4 of this resolution. All votes taken during the meeting, at least 1 member participating by electronic means must be taken by roll call vote.
Council, if you recall, during COVID, we had the authority to do this through executive order of Governor Holcomb. After COVID was lifted, legislature adopted a statute that allowed municipalities to adopt this process whereby we could continue to meet even if there was some level of electronic participation. We adopted that resolution about March of last year. This resolution amendment repealing and replacing the other resolution is sponsored by Councilman Schaefer, and it is really minor changes so that we can conform with all the flexibility that the state statute provides, particularly with regards to the ability to attend 2 consecutive meetings remotely. That is. Councilman Schaefer, any additional comments you'd like to add?
Not really. Just, I guess, to further note that on the points that did change, the section D, which changes to C, that was just I don't know if it was a change inadvertently previously, but we were not quite in alignment with the state statute, so that's why I worked with the mayor's office to want to get this updated. It actually made me not be able to attend at one point last year, so I wanted to get it cleaned up this year, and then we decided to eliminate B because it seemed redundant to the following one. It just seemed like it could be conflicting, so. I did find I missed another typo down there in the bottom.
Just a Scrivener error?
Yeah, you might want to clean it up before we publish, but there's an is and that's combined into one word. I just noticed it.
Where is that at?
I can't find it anymore.
Okay.
I found it when Joe was reading it, but
We'll do spell.
I'll show it to
We'll
you.
do a word search on it.
Last page, section 6, number 2, there's an is and together, and section 6, part C, there's electronic means. There's 2 spaces that are missing.
Oh, gotcha, okay. We'll correct that. Thank you. This resolution. Any additional conversation? Any additional discussion, any comments or questions?
Motion to approve resolution 2023-1C.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed?
Thank you, council. Council, are there any reports, recommendations, or other business from standing and select study committees of city council? Hearing none, this being the first day of the new year, we do not have any reports of city officials or bills on third reading. We do have one bill on second reading, and this is sponsored by Councilman Bartlett.
Yes, this is the ordinance that we had last week, and we also have on the phone our bond counsel, Tom Pittman, with Barnes and Thornburg, so if you guys have any questions, he's here and available to answer this. But this is the second reading for ordinance number 2022-35, an ordinance of the Common Council of the City of Madison, Indiana, authorizing the issuance of economic development local income tax bonds, Series 2023, to provide funds for a portion of the cost of the acquisition, construction, and installation of certain improvements to Crystal Beach Pool and addressing other matters connected therewith. Are there any comments or questions from council?
Joe, would mind giving a preamble
I'm sorry.
to the ordinance. As you know, this is the second reading, and we'll move this to third reading at the next council meeting. As you know, we've been working on literally a Crystal Beach restoration that became a pool replacement project for the past year. The actual restoration of the pool house has been ongoing for several years, which is nearing completion. But as a preamble to the importance of this ordinance, I have some remarks I'd like to just make for the record. It's no easy feat to design and execute a major pool replacement project as unique as Crystal Beach in this economic environment. It's been 30 years since the city has made a major investment in its park system, and for the last 20 plus years, our community has grappled with the pending demise of Crystal Beach. After over 80 years of service to our community and hundreds of thousands of visitors to our waters, this iconic and historic WPA project was deemed too unsafe to use and was forced to close in the summer of 2022. Indiana Landmarks, which is a preeminent historic preservation organization in the state, noted this in a recent article. Although it's increasingly rare to find historic pools previous generations of swimmers still recognize, Crystal Beach Pool in Madison retains its historic shape and bathhouse, even as plans are underway to renovate the site for the future. Without losing momentum on the pool house restoration for year-round use and programming, we then embarked on a plan to design and replace Crystal Beach Pool that will serve future generations of visitors and support our youth and adult recreational programming for the next 50 to 75 years, while adding modern amenities for all abilities and all ages. A new Crystal Beach will contribute to Madison's recreational tourism landscape and continue to adorn our National Historic Landmark District. While nobody is happy about the construction environment that we have found ourselves in since COVID, we have to manage the risks as we know them and measure the opportunity costs of inaction. We are certain that we can pursue a plan which delivers a pool that the community wants, eliminate the downside risk of uncertainty, and do this without increasing any property tax rates. And a few notes about the efforts over the past year that brought us here today. The new pool has been designed for multi-generational use for all ages and abilities. The unsafe pool and equipment have been demolished and removed. Property has been transferred to a newly formed City of Madison RDA. A lease and bond authorization has been approved by council and the RDC. The bonds have been placed with German American Bank, grateful for their participation in city projects at a tax rate neutral amount and fixed interest rate for 20 years. The design of the new pool respects the authenticity of the original 1938 WPA structure. The construction project has been scoped, design costs incurred, and publicly bid, with one bid received. Lit revenue bonds can be authorized to allow the project to proceed, which is on our agenda tonight. This will have zero impact on property taxes. Alternative sources of funding are still being pursued to offset costs. Not moving forward would create significant uncertainty regarding costs and interest rates as well as timing. Preserving the character and the authenticity of the craftsmanship from 1938 requires more emphasis on design than a typical public swimming pool. not moving forward would create dramatic uncertainty about the pool's future, which is why we are requesting council support to move forward. The ordinance we have in front of you tonight will allow us confidence in moving forward while we look at cost reductions and finalize sources and uses. We have on the phone with us our bond counsel, Tom Pittman from Barnes and Thornburg, who can also answer any questions about what this proposed supplemental financing does for the city of Madison. Thank you. You got that? Okay.
Turn it over to council for questions and comments.
Is there any way to I want to think of the right wording here. I don't want. Is there any way to scale down the scope of this project with some of the additional items that are on the pool and stay within the budget of our original bond?
Are you asking, is there a way to redesign the pool for a $6 million pool instead of look at the, reduce the cost to the extent that we can?
That's what I'm asking. I'm asking, can we keep the shape of this pool? Remove some of the additional items such as a lazy river and a splash pad and stay within the original 6.1, I'm sorry.
I'm going to invite Tony, who has been working with our design team and architects, to talk about the efforts, Councilman, that they are making to reduce the cost of the pool while preserving its authenticity, but also modernizing it for use by all abilities and all ages.
Yeah, Councilman DiTillo, the question of can the pool be cut down in size or scope based upon the current budget of $6 million that was approved? And the answer is no. That was a question we've worked through. If you think about pools and construction of pools, if you think about a wedding cake, I've used this, it's all about what's underneath the pretty flowers and top icing, right? It's about the concrete, it's about the pipes, it's about the pumps, it's about the electronics. And so as we look at that, the only real way to reduce overall cost of a pool is by square footage. And so we shrunk the pool initially to get to a budget that we felt would work and still proportionally provide the authenticity of the original design and the desire. And so to shrink the size of the body of water any more would compromise that authenticity and shape. Most of all those amenities that you mentioned and referenced really only are about $1 million of the overall pool cost. Slides $487,000, the lazy river's $100,000, the diving well's about $60,000, and there's about $100,000 worth of stuff in the splash pad. I could go into that more detail, but overall, if you cut everything out of that people see, touch, feel, and really want to enjoy, it's about $1 million. So at the end of the day, to really get down into the budget of a $6 million pool, you'd be compromising the shape and style of that pool here at Crystal Beach.
Well, the other thing that would be a compromise is attendance. You know, with a pool that we're building and modernizing that'll have these amenities to it, it'll grow in attendance, and that will also support more operational costs of the pool, but also allow us an opportunity to better maintain the pool. I also want to mention this. 20 years ago, the city of Madison formed a steering committee. They grappled with this very topic. What are we going to do? The pool is essentially deteriorating to the point where it's not going to be usable. They grappled where they should put the pool and what they should build back. Their conclusion was the pool should be right where it is. And they went through a series of analysis of different sizes and scopes and different amenities. But essentially the estimate 20 years ago was $5 million. So, you know, if you think about the time value of money and the inflation factor from 20 years ago, that's about $8.5 million today. Factor in the disruption that we're experiencing in supply chain, materials costs, labor, financial markets, capital markets, all of the above, which we don't control, frankly. To be where we are is, although it's higher than we would like, we believe that the best thing to do is move forward for the next 50 to 75 years and make the proper investment that the community needs. And I think we'll be rewarded by the focus we're placing on the design of the pool rather than, the rectangular or, doing what other communities do, which is close the pool altogether. And I think we'll be rewarded with higher attendance because it will have much more appeal to a broader segment of our region
Yeah,
as a water park.
and to that end, the pool design, if I can go back, we put forth that we didn't want to have additional guards. We wanted to keep the same number of guards we had, but add all these features, and we've done that. We want to extend the hours, and so there's a lighting system in there, and the ability to keep the pool open longer periods of time. That was a request. And as we talked to our consultants, and they advised us, our current attendance is about 14,000 patrons a year. They anticipate that growing to 25,000 fairly quickly, and being a regional destination facility because of the amenities that we're adding to that. And if you look around, the pools don't have that are closer to us. And so we believe that from an operational perspective, we'll be able to increase some of the ability to reduce the subsidy that the current Parks Department pays for the pool in the terms of operations, which is a very efficient operation currently anyway. So we think we're only going to improve on that. We're currently at about a 78%. If you remember correctly in one of the earlier presentations, we're running about 78% efficient on our pool, which means we're only subsidizing less than 30% of taxpayer dollars because of the operations of the pool. And we made a commitment not to raise the entry fee as a part of this new pool, and we think we'll be in a good spot to be able to continue to do that operationally.
And we're still talking with other potential co-investors or financial supporters of the pool. This authorization allows us to proceed with the confidence that we can do the design work, reduce the costs, and finance the incremental costs. We're only financing it over 20 years, but the useful life of the pool is going to be between 50 and 75. And we can, in the event that none of those other sources of financing materialize, we can service this incremental debt with new revenues that we've created and no new taxes. I think that's a good outcome for all of us to seriously consider.
But I wanted to say to Dan that several of us have had the opportunity to come in and voice some of these same concerns. Where can we meet in the middle? Where can we compromise some things to bring the costs down? And Tony has done that with a few other suggestions, not taking the niceties out necessarily, but other things, and has already come down 500,000, can we say?
I would just say we are coming down.
Okay.
At a rapid pace. I don't want to commit to a number publicly tonight.
Right.
We're still in the middle of those negotiations with the contractor.
Okay, thank you for correcting me. But I just wanted you to know that we have those same concerns and that they're very much aware that we'd like to meet in the middle and find some ways to save money. Maybe it's not taking the lazy river out, but there are other ways that we might be able to find to bring the budget down.
And again, we'll look at those options. My philosophy about trying to cut the dollars out of this project is look at things that you don't see and that have no impact on the kids or the adults of the community. So we're starting at the bottom, everything underground and moving up, and we're making some great sacrifice. We're looking at details on the project, getting input from the construction contractors, the concrete contractors on how best to maybe change a few details so it saves labor and some forming of some things. And we're really diving into the details of the pool so we can preserve the larger impact of the pool for the community. The things that the community embraced, wanted, and prioritized. So we're going to start there first and see if we get to a comfortable number. Again, as I said, if we cut all of the play structures out, all the niceties, and just had a Crystal Beach pool at 14,000 square feet instead of 22,000 square feet, we'd only cut $1 million off. And I think for a 75-year-old pool, for 75 years length of a pool, it's important for us to build it in a modern 2023 fashion.
One thing to just note from a legal standpoint of why we're doing this. is I think important. We received one bid to do this project, and it was at $8 million. The city, from a legal standpoint, and Tom can correct me if I'm wrong, but is unable to accept a bid that it cannot show that has the wherewithal to pay. And so that's why, and that's why we're going through this step, in order to be able to accept that bid, because I think, the mayor and Tony and all believe that there is a significant amount of risk with rebidding the project, because frankly, if I'm correct, all of the people that came to the pre-bid kind of have gone together and made this bid.
Well, what
in
I
a
would
way.
say is we had 5 general contractors show up at the pre-bid. We received 1 bid. We were really excited to see 5 general contractors interested in this project, given the current environment. What the feedback has come back after talking to a number of sources throughout the networks and these contractors, why didn't you bid? It really comes down to concrete. Concrete's in a shortage. Construction workers to lay concrete and to form concrete is at a shortage, and there's opportunities out there to, quite frankly, make more money on easier projects for the concrete contractors currently. If you think about big box warehouses around Seymour and Columbus and Indianapolis, there's just a lot easier to lay a half mile of flat concrete slab than a Crystal Beach swimming pool. We heard a lot of that. There's still some supply chain issues that are impacting pool equipment, as well as our sewer project, if you remember on the hill, the pumps, the electronics. So as we had those conversations and we were hearing messages that concrete's gonna go up again this summer, we really thought long and hard about rebidding. As the mayor said, there's a number of risks that we can't control. And I would hate to get in a position where we find, as we have with other bids this year, that bids come back after we make a bunch of cuts, come back even higher than the original bid, and we've given up all that plus have to pay more. And so we're trying to mitigate the risk and find that balance for, again, this multi-generational pool that's going to last 75 years. So happy to answer any more questions.
And, council, 2 weeks' time will continue to provide us even more intelligence about the decision that we'll ask you to make at the next council meeting.
And I just want to be clear, the reason I'm asking this, I'm hearing from both sides. I have people who are really excited and want this project to go forward. But I'm hearing from people who say that's a lot of money to finance. That's a big number. And I think that scares them. It's a big number.
It is a large number. We should be concerned about the costs. But we're also doing something that's unique, that is a very long-term investment, and it's been 30 years since the city's made adequate investment in its parks. As we've seen over and over and over again, there's not very many parts of our city government that has had adequate investment, and we are already dealing with a lot of deferred investment in many parts of the city. The question becomes, the acid test really is, well, do you manage the risk as you know it, or do you speculate and do something later and hope for a better outcome? We've got to reconcile both of those approaches and get to a good place.
Any other questions from the council or comments?
Just a quick comment. This is a very ambitious project for a municipality of our size, but I firmly believe it's one we have to take on. Crystal Beach Pool has been so important to the quality of life for folks in Madison for over 80 years now, and it's something that moving into the next 80 years into the future, a new pool designed looking forward towards the future is going to only continue to increase quality of life here, especially for children. Opportunities for children around here are slim as it is, and having a great new pool would be a big asset. We've got a great location for it. We've got a wonderful pool house already completed. We just got to get the hole in the ground, and it's expensive. But I have confidence that the mayor and his team are doing their best to bring this project down to as manageable a number as possible, while also still providing all the amenities that we need in a modern pool. I do agree with Dan to an extent that if we can't get it down to a level we are comfortable with, then we may need to look at cutting some of the surface amenities. But regardless, I think the city and this council needs to move forward with this project and make sure that we get it done one way or the other. We've got to get it done, and financially, we may need to redirect funding in our general budget, but we can make it happen. Thank you.
Anything else from the council? Any questions or comments from the audience?
My name is Camille Fife, and I am currently semi-retired. Do you like my shirt? I live at 608 Mulberry Street, and I am a local citizen here. I worked on the National Historic Landmark, and one of the things, the configuration of this pool, which they have tried to maintain, is at least unique to this extent. It is unique to the National Historic Landmark in that we have only one project of this scope and this size. And it may be unique, and I have not checked this, but it may be unique in its regard for the shape of this pool. We might have just the one. And so I would urge you to think, I know that this is a cost factor and that we are concerned about costs, but I would urge you not to change the shape of this pool. Thank you.
Thank you.
David Alcorn, 225 Waterwood Drive. Good evening, council, mayor. I just wanted a couple of clarifications. One, by the time this money is paid back, it's probably going to be closer to 10 million than 8. Is that correct? By the time we get this money paid back?
Factoring in interest costs and time. Sure.
Yep. Okay.
But that future dollar is going to be worth less than today's dollar. So
Yeah.
if you wanted to do a real NPV analysis, I think you'd have to take all that into consideration. If that, I'm not sure what your point was going to
Well,
be.
the point is by the time we use our money to pay this back, it's going to be more than $8 million.
That's correct.
Okay. So that $8 million is a larger amount than what you're telling the council. We're going to be paying more than $8 million. And then Councilman Tevenall, I think you used the phrase, one way or another, we need to get this done. Does that mean there is no ceiling on cost? Because
No, ceiling on cost is going to be $8 million. However, I believe we're working towards bringing that down.
So if we're back
Absolutely.
here in a couple of months asking for more money for the Crystal Beach project, it's going to be a
I have seen, Tony or the mayor can also speak to this. I've seen nothing that indicates we're going to need more. We have the bid.
We have a fixed price construction contract. We've already done the design work. We know where we're about at on our financial costs. So yes, I do not expect costs to increase beyond the guardrails we're talking about now with our financing. So our financing is going to be the limitation.
Okay. So the original estimate for the Crystal Beach project started out, am I correct, around $2 million? Is that right?
Well,
and then it's increased since then to
Well-
$8 million.
The original, I mean, it depends on how far you want to go back. If you want to go back to when you were on council with Stellar, it was probably a couple of $1 million, but that wasn't going to replace the pool.
Yeah. No, I'm talking about
Yeah.
the brand new drawings and design that council was given
No.
options, right? They could go with just restoring the original shape and how it is, or
When we
vote
got to the point of declaring the pool unsafe for use and moving into the replacement, our architects and engineers' estimates were $6 million.
Okay. So this is the first increase from that.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Might ask you to hit the mic there. Thank you, Jan.
Jan Vatrus at 701 East 2nd Street. And I just want to thank the architects and Tony and the folks that have been working on this. I am extremely concerned that we keep the size and shape of Crystal Beach. I'm a regular user, and I'm also aware of the importance historically for preserving one of our landmarks in the district. But I was very impressed with how they were able to take that historic shape and size and incorporate things that people want in the pool. Diving boards are critical. I personally don't care for them, but when I was forced to use the Clifty pool all summer, the diving boards were in use all the time. We had diving boards at Crystal Beach originally. They've been gone for at least 30 years. The other amenities that they have put in there are things that the public has asked for, and the architects have done a stellar job incorporating that into the historic size and shape of the pool. We are unique, and as a city, this is an investment in our future. I would just take one exception with Mr. Tevenot. It's not just for kids. Our seniors and retirees love this pool. We have active exercise programs in this pool. One of the values of the lazy river, which you may think is just fluff, is that it is an exercise opportunity as well. So I think that the architects and Tony and his group have done a really good job. It's only going to get more expensive. And the fact that they are including new systems for filtration, pumping, replacing all the leaks, and a brand new pool means that it will be more cost effective to run it, and it will actually be warmer, which again, for those of us older, are looking forward to having a warmer pool in the summer and longer hours. It can be a fabulous pool, and I think it will be. We don't want to nickel and dime ourselves to ordinary, plain, and something that will be a disservice to the WPA. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. Mike Greco, 1106 East Street. I just wanted to voice my opinion on this pool. I think if this can hadn't been kicked down the road starting 20 years ago, the cost would be much lower. You know, on any project, you know, buying a house, buying a car, if you take a look at what your interest is going to be after paying that loan off, none of us would own a home and none of us would be driving a new car. You do have to factor those things in, but I think now's the time to, you know, get this project done. It's going to be cheaper than if you put it off and go further down the road. And even $10 million after it's paid for, if you take a look at the liability that this city could suffer with the way the pool was, if something was to happen, if the thing collapsed with the cracks and everything $10 million is relatively cheap to a city. I mean, when everything's all said and done, and especially when you're not raising taxes. I think it's a good idea, and it does keep the original idea of Crystal Beach, the shape and, you know, what that program was 80, 90 years ago. So I commend you guys and hope it goes forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike.
Anybody else? Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Pittman? Tom, thanks for being on.
That's okay. Thank you. And let me know if anything else comes up that I can be helpful on.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom.
Take care. Bye.
Okay, moving on through the agenda. Nothing miscellaneous, so we will open the floor up to public comments. If there's anybody here who would like to address the mayor's office and council, now would be an opportunity. Just come to the podium and identify your name and address and what your concern is. Thank you. All right, under mayor's comments, not a whole lot here. Just want to mention that city staff, myself, and Tony and Nicole will be at the Southern Indiana RDA meeting on Friday, making a pitch for more grant money from the Ready Grant program. This will be for the additional 3 projects that we've identified that we are partnering collaboratively with other organizations in our community. The Ohio Theater, restoration of the facade and marquee, the HMI Bicentennial Park upgrades at the end of Poplar Street and Vaughn Drive, and then also our partnership with Heritage Trail and Hanover College for the Hanover-Madison Connector Trail. We'll be making presentations to the Southern Indiana Redevelopment Authority on Friday, asking for their financial support to add in with the financing that the Redevelopment Commission is committed to these projects. And we'll see 3 more projects in addition to the 3 that we've already broken ground on get underway pretty quickly. So we're excited about all that, plus the leveraging that we get from utilizing our partnerships with these other 3 organizations. We'll be doing several millions of dollars of more projects with a minor investment by the city. And I think that's a fantastic outcome. That's impactful for our quality of life. I will pause there, and if council has anything they'd like to say, now will be the time. And our next meeting will be Tuesday, January the 17th. I want to thank everybody for coming tonight.
I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I second the motion.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thanks, everyone. Thanks, everyone, for being here.